What if the most powerful move you could make was to say nothing at all? What if silence wasn't weakness, but strategy? In a world obsessed with speaking, posting, arguing, and proving, those who dominate often do so without a single word. This isn't about being passive. It's about mastering the game so thoroughly that you win by doing less. In this video, we'll explore how to outsmart, influence, and dominate without opening your mouth. We'll dissect Machiavelli's ruthless genius, the chilling strategies of ancient warlords, and the silent wisdom of the Stoics and samurai. Stick around to the end for one of the most mind-bending historical stories of silent power ever recorded. And if you're someone who wants to rule from the shadows, subscribe now and join our League of Thinkers. Let's get started. Niccolò Machiavelli, the controversial mind behind The Prince, taught that true power rarely announces itself. It doesn't need to. Real manipulation isn't loud or obvious, it unfolds quietly, in the background, where no one sees it coming. It is better to be feared than loved, he wrote, but what many miss is that he never said you had to speak to be feared. The most effective strategies are cold, quiet, and deeply calculated. Machiavelli understood that silence wasn't weakness, it was precision. To outsmart others, he believed, you must observe far more than you speak. Power, he argued, should move like a shadow, present but unnoticed until it's too late. Machiavelli believed that showing your emotions or intentions was a strategic blunder. The world, he argued, rewards those who keep others guessing. A ruler must be a lion, bold, dangerous, intimidating. But he must also be a fox, clever, watchful, aware of traps before they spring. The trick? Never reveal which one you are. Blend the strength of both, but expose neither. People can only attack what they can define. By remaining silent, unreadable, you become untouchable. Silence becomes more than a tool, it becomes your armor. And mystery. That's your sharpest blade. The unknown is always more terrifying than the known. Take Emperor Ashoka of India, once a brutal conqueror who left fields soaked in blood after the Kalinga War. His transformation afterward was not loud, not declared with speeches or fanfare. Instead, he let his actions whisper for him. He embraced Buddhism, renounced violence, and governed with surprising peace. But that very silence after the storm was unsettling. No one could be sure if he had truly changed, or if the calm was only temporary. That uncertainty was power. Ashoka never had to threaten again. His enemies stayed on edge, haunted by the memory of what he had been, and unsure of what he might become. The Stoic philosophers understood this kind of restraint on a personal level. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca taught that emotional control is the mark of strength. They believed the best response to chaos was not to meet it with noise, but with poise. Stoicism trains the mind to pause before reacting, to measure one's emotions before expressing them. Often, the most powerful move is to say nothing at all. As Marcus wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Instead of lowering yourself to their level, rise above. Don't match their fire, let them burn alone. Machiavelli's most dangerous lesson wasn't cruelty, it was deception. Appear moral, act strategic. He encouraged rulers to wear a mask of virtue while maneuvering ruthlessly behind the scenes. People trust appearances. If you seem kind, principled, humble, they won't question your intent. Silence helps keep that mask in place. Don't declare your plans. Let them think you have none. What they can't hear, they can't stop. In modern terms, move in silence. Work in the dark. Let your results walk into the room before you do. It's not just about what they see. It's about what they don't. Long before Machiavelli, Sun Tzu was teaching the same in The Art of War. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, he wrote. War, he believed, begins and ends in the mind. Victory goes to the strategist, not the loudest general, but the one who listens, calculates, and waits. Silence gives you the upper hand. It forces your opponent to fill the void with their own assumptions. It's in that uncertainty they make mistakes. The one who talks the most is often the one most exposed. In war and in life, the first to speak is often the first to fall. Here's the truth few will admit: the person who listens the most tends to win. Most people expose their fears, desires, and blind spots simply by overtalking. They reveal where they're weak without even realizing it. But the silent observer, they gather data. They watch. They wait. And when the time comes, they strike with precision. Machiavellian thinking begins with being the quietest one in the room, not because you lack confidence, but because you don't need attention. You're not participating in the noise. You're studying it. And that's what makes you dangerous. The samurai of feudal Japan lived by a code, Bushido, that demanded silence, honor, and restraint. A true warrior didn't need to shout his strength. He didn't need to threaten. His presence alone was the message. A duel between samurai was often over before a blade was even drawn, decided by breath, posture, and will. The weak screamed. The strong stood still. In their silence was a promise: I don't need to prove I can end you, I just need to decide when. Power, when mastered, doesn't raise its voice. It barely speaks at all. In strategic silence, timing is everything. A delayed reaction is not an action, it's control. In high-stakes negotiation, the one who speaks first often loses leverage. Why? Because silence forces others to reveal more than they intended. Machiavelli warned never to make the first move unless absolutely necessary. Let others show their hand. Let them rush. Then strike with accuracy. The advantage often lies with the one who waited the longest, not the one who acted the fastest. In silence, you're not stalling. You're setting a trap. Talking too much usually betrays two things: ego or insecurity. Machiavelli saw both as liabilities. The person who needs to explain themselves constantly is either unsure of their own value or desperate for approval. Either way, they're exposed. But silence confuses. It intrigues. It unsettles. If no one can read your face or guess your next step, you hold the power. You force others to fill in the blanks, and they often fill them with fear. That's how silence shifts the battlefield. It strips emotion out of the equation and lets strategy take full control. Napoleon Bonaparte, one of history's most cunning tacticians, once said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." That one line captures the essence of Machiavellian silence. When you jump in, when you speak too soon, you rob yourself of the upper hand. Too many lose their advantage by trying to correct, boast, or react too early. Napoleon didn't just conquer with armies, he conquered with patience. He won by watching, letting others err, and capitalizing on their missteps. Sometimes the best move is to do nothing. Let them dig their own grave. Watch a grandmaster play chess. There's no trash talk. No gloating. Just stillness. Every move is measured, planned, and often fatal. The silence at that level isn't empty, it's alive with tension. The opponent senses something coming, but they can't see it. That kind of quiet is brutal. It's psychological warfare. By the time the checkmate arrives, it's not a surprise. It's a slow, agonizing realization. The damage was done long before the final piece moved. That's the essence of silent strategy: don't talk. Make moves that speak volumes. Disappear. Observe. Return with force. Taoist philosophy calls this Wu Wei, effortless action. It's the art of moving so naturally within a situation that your influence becomes invisible. You become like wind or water, fluid, unnoticed, yet completely in control. Others don't see your hand until it's already shaped the outcome. This is how the silent strategist operates. No noise, no credit, no trace. And yet, everything shifts in your direction. You don't dominate by force, you dominate by flow. That's power in its purest, most undetectable form. Imagine walking into a room and saying nothing, but everyone stops and looks at you. That's not luck. That's not charisma. That's earned silence. It's the kind of presence that comes from reputation, results, and restraint. You've spoken before through your actions, and now you don't need to say a word. Machiavelli would call this the final form of power, when fear or respect enters the room before you do. Because in the end, fear doesn't need volume. It only needs to be felt. And when done right, it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Silent strength creates doubt in others. They begin to question themselves. Are you planning something? Did they offend you? What are you thinking? Their anxiety becomes your weapon. Machiavelli understood that uncertainty weakens enemies faster than swords. King Louis XIV of France held elaborate silent dinners at court. Courtiers who couldn't master their expressions or body language were outcast. Why? Because he understood power is visual. Emotional control, stillness, and poise sent messages louder than any speech. It was silent dominance. In modern boardrooms, those who pause, hold eye contact, and wait, often command more influence. Saying less creates space. And in that space, people project power onto you. It's not what you say. It's the energy you carry. Machiavelli would thrive in today's high-stakes negotiations, winning without blinking. Always let others reveal themselves first. Their tone, their urgency, their fears, they will try to fill the silence. And in doing so, they expose themselves. You nod. You listen. You're the mirror. You collect data. Then you act, precisely when needed, without ever raising your voice. When Julius Caesar was assassinated, he said nothing to most of his attackers. The only words attributed to him were to Brutus, et2, brute, and even that is debated. But his silence as he fell shook Rome. The conspirators won, but were haunted by how dignified, controlled, and silent Caesar remained. His last act? A reminder that even in death, silence can speak louder than screams. The greatest minds in history, from Machiavelli to Marcus Aurelius, from samurai to strategists, knew one truth: words can betray you. Silence rarely does. If you want to rule without noise, influence without exposure, and outsmart without a trace, learn to master your silence. This is the Beyond the Surface channel. If this awakened something in you, if you crave more powerful ideas that reshape how you live, subscribe now and join the quiet revolution. Thank you for watching.